Okay, we're really cranking out some of these mirror cards here, but I wanted to get quite a few of them down in these stamp-along videos before I kind of move on from this format. I just think that this format is really dynamic. Okay, what you're going to need if you haven't watched the previous videos on this particular combination of foils here. This is a quarter-page piece of rainbow holographic cardstock or foil. And this one is a very reflective gold one. There's probably several different brands out here that kind of do the same thing. I bought a 60 pack for about $17, $18 roughly about on Amazon. There are links to it below, but I found that just, the price per full-size sheet of these is just so much cheaper than buying them in like a 5-pack for like $1 each or something like that. So again, 60 pieces of this, and it really gets you kind of, a lot of these different types of cards and this type of thing's like perfect for kind of Christmas types of applications as well. Okay, what you'll need as well is your Stays On ink, and for this card, I'm going to do a really simple application of Nature Set number 8 with the Lakeside Cove. Pines and Rocks. I'm going to try this Cloud Cumulus for my sky area so that I can just use it in the Stays On ink. And then we'll also use some of the water pattern stamp. And we'll see if we can't get some kind of interesting patterns on this lower section down here in the way of some kind of shadow textures in the water. I don't know. I haven't done that with the Stays On, or have I? I don't know. I might have been doing that. Let's see how it applies to this kind of smaller format, and again, of the quarter-page piece. Okay, so we're going to be mounting these two pieces of foil onto a pre-folded half-card piece right here. This is half, and then quartered like that, folded in half, okay? So we're going to be starting off with the Lakeside Cove, okay? You'll need a fairly large block if you're using unmounted versions. This is the cling foam version of this, but if you're using an unmounted version, just throw on some tack and peel or something like that onto your block for a temporary mount. And if you use something like, a positioner such as a Misty, maybe look into the clear stamps by, Purple Onion or something like that. Speedball also has some clear stamps. Okay, now we're going to leave the quarter-size piece of rainbow holographic foil separate from the lower section. I did pre-adhere my quarter-page piece of gold foil down just to kind of make things go faster. And you'll see how fast these come together. Okay, now I'm looking roughly around this horizon area right in here. And I'm just going to make a mental note of it, okay? So it's roughly about right here. So I have my finger right here. And that's basically where I'm going to be aiming my Lakeside Cove on at this bottom half. So this bottom of this piece goes right here, and the part that I noted is right here. You can mark on the back of your stamp or something like that if you want to, and just say where the kind of the water line is. This cove does come a little bit lower like that, okay? And why don't we do another couple impressions on the side of this, like about like so. Okay, and again, right around here, okay? Overlap your previous impression and just get it going like that. I missed a little spot like that. That happens, in stamping sometimes, so I'm just going to take some more trees right here and just stamp them right in there, and that fills up that little space, okay? That's the way scenic stamps are designed, or at least Stampscapes designs are designed for kind of easy application. And then if you don't get it, there's an easy repair. Okay, so that being said, this can look just fine like that, okay? You can see those rocks down there. Or if you want to, you can stamp this lower section of the Lakeside Cove right down here, okay? It's up to you. I think I'll go ahead and do that. Why not? Being that I'm kind of mentioning that. You saw what it looked like without. And if you want to leave it off, you can, no big deal. Okay, so again, that portion is right about right here, and I'm going to take this and stamp it about like so. Okay, just that lower section down here, right into that foil, and it looks like that, okay? And we'll also carry that out on the sides like this. If you go a little bit higher or lower than me, that's okay. You know, it doesn't have to be, you know, completely uniform from mine to yours, okay? Stamp that a little bit left, a little bit right, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter, okay? Up or down. Don't go 5 inches down or something like that, but generally have those rocks right about like so. And then we'll see what this looks like. Again, see how they match up like that? And then if I go like this, you can see it like that. Okay? Okay, so that is that. Let's see here. We can work in kind of different order here. If we want to, we can put in our Pines and Rocks stamp here. But I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to go for some of this water pattern stamp here. Now the water pattern stamp, I've designed it where there's a little bit of a thicker area on the design and thinner ones up top. I tend to put the thicker ones down below. You know, you have larger patterns going off into the distance, low to high, okay? But the way that we're going to be using it here, it's more about texture, okay? And the repetition of texture, so it doesn't really matter too much. Okay, so I've mounted this on this little block, and I'm going to be using it right here, like this, okay? And then I'll use it on this side, and I'll just flip this to the other side, or I can use it like that, okay? Hope I'm not moving too fast, but you can always pause the video if need be. Okay, now this one's going to be a little bit hard because it's hard to see this black reflected in the gold on this camera, okay? But okay, so I'm stamped once. It reads as an impression, of course, okay? But I'm going to be going for kind of the repetition of this texture like this, okay? It stamps off very quickly, being that this is being done in stays on, you know, the solvent-based ink, solvent-based, very fast-drying ink at that, okay? So this is being used for pattern, texture, you might say, and it's also kind of creating a little bit of a vignette on the side. See that right there? So I have these shadows kind of going down this way. That's probably already dry. Okay, let's flip this around this way. I tell you what, I'm just going to leave this as is. I'm just going to stamp it from upside down. See, now it's on this side. I'm doing like this. Now I'll just go like this, and it's still like that. I guess it doesn't really matter high or low. When it comes to this, it just dries off on the stamp so fast. I'm probably getting really about 3 or 4 impressions at most doing it this way. Sometimes you can have it a little bit on its side too for a thinner kind of transitioning texture like that, okay? Don't always have to stamp it flat. So just kind of keep it real light and tap it on like that. Don't go for impression, 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 okay? Not in this case, okay? If we're doing something like dye-based inks or something like that, you know, you can do something, you know, more akin to, you know, traditional stamping and making multiple impressions. But this one's not going to read like that anyway, so it's not really going to matter. Okay, so we have that. You see those kind of ripply textures down in that water? Let's see what this is looking like as is, like that, okay? So see that water's kind of texturing on that water? Instead of just having this wide open, it puts a little bit of that, oh, I don't know, just that water texture in there, okay? Coming along pretty fast. We can also do this in the sky too, perhaps, I don't know. Maybe a lighter color would be best if we did that though. A lighter stays on color, I don't know. Okay, so let's go with something like these trees here. It doesn't have to be these trees. These ones just happen to be in nature set number 8. Okay, inking up. If you need to re-ink your stays on ink prior to doing this lesson, go ahead and do that. You want to have a pretty decent amount of stays on your pad. I found that out, and I'm like having to re-ink my pads quite often, just because of that drying rate and evaporation rate, I guess you can say. Okay. All right, so you have that tree down in that corner like that, and we'll go for another one on the left-hand side. And I'll leave a little bit of space in between as a kind of a visual entry point into the scene like that. See that right there? But let's take a look and let's see what it looks like formatted there. See that like that? You have those foreground trees like that, going off into the distance like that. Someone opens this card like that. Isn't that fun? Okay, so I'm going to try something on this. Let's see if I can utilize my cloud cumulus to get a little bit of a perimeter texture going on here. I haven't done that on this yet, on this type of card format. But let's see how it'll work. My problem is the drying time of stays on ink and trying to do what I'm doing right here. Okay, so I'm inking up like this. Okay, and as soon as you do that, it really starts to dry. And then on this part of the cloud, the top portion, I'm really wiping off like all of the ink around there like that. Okay. And then let's see if I can get a good impression of it right in here. So you're wiping around the perimeter and all of the top. Yeah, not bad. Okay. So see that right there? It really just transitions off very nicely. That's what I do with dye-based inks all the time. You ink up, wipe off the perimeter. Now on the top, I'm wiping off pretty good. And the first time you do this, you might not be taking off as much ink as is ideal, okay? Here, I just shredded my paper towel quite a bit. But this is going to give me a little bit of a perimeter, kind of a vignette. It's kind of going for that same type of idea. Okay, let me try to not shred my paper towel here, okay? All right, going like this. And see, I'm not getting that hard edge around on the perimeter. That's why I'm kind of wiping it off like I am. My stays on ink is probably drying right on my pad because I got to work fast here and I don't always put the cap back on as I'm doing this portion of it. Okay, so let's go down here. Perfect. This would be another way you can use your nature set number 8 imagery in a pretty different format. If you haven't done a mirror card before, these are just so fun, so dynamic, and you're just making the impressions. I used a little bit of technique, in stamping, the water pattern down here, but that's just a repetition of texture. But see how it kind of added some shadows down here within those rocks. But let's take a look at these clouds right here now, okay? So we have that. Look at that beautiful color happening in there. Okay, now let's see. My finger is roughly right here. I'm just seeing if I stamp a quote up here, if it would reflect down here. It might, but I have a perfect quote for this, and that's "Nature always wears the colors of the spirit" by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And that is a really great quote for rainbow holographic foil. Okay, I think this is off the Scenic Sentiment set 4, I think. All stamps used are always mentioned in the description section below every video. Okay. All right. Let's see if I can get this stamped reasonably straight and centered. A lot of times I don't do it centered, so I don't have to, be so, kind of exact with it. This one I'm going for, reasonably centered like so. All right. And that one I just did in black. Okay. And let's go like this. And let's see. Okay. Now that quote is right down here. I don't like to see that quote down in that lower section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, well, let's see. Should I put this little canoeist down here like so? Yeah, let's do that. I just used them in my last scene too. Let's go ahead and use it. I haven't used this stamp in a while. Let's go ahead and use them on 2 cards in a row. This is Canoe and Fly Line. Okay, and I'll place them about like so. It will kind of provide a kind of a balancing point for the upper section up here. Word stamps tend to be a pretty strong focal point, as well as little figures, people and animals, man-made things. If you have a cabin in the woods or something like that, that's also a big visual draw. Okay. And let's get this merged together. The way you merge this is you just kind of hold this up at an angle, and this goes in right there. I don't try to get this tape like right immediately on the exact corner of this card right here, so I can just slip it right in there like this. And I'm guessing that ink right there is pretty dry, but just to make sure, I'll just fold it this way. You can do this card on the outside white if you want to, so you can stamp other things on the outside or some additional tones or something like that. And there we have it right there. That is a pretty fast card. This took, let's see, 18 minutes here. Not too bad for a pretty dynamic card. Look at this. That's almost like, like Twilight or something like that when you hold it like that. Hold it like wide open like this and see those different colors. It could be like a sunrise or something like that. You go like that. That looks more like Twilight right there, huh? Go like that. Look at this. Look at that. That looks like sunset colors or sunrise right there. So that rainbow holographic really has a lot of different characteristics. And then it's not only the rainbow holographic, but it's reflecting into the gold, and the gold's reflecting into the rainbow holographic a little bit, and then it's reflecting back like that. So that's where we have kind of the viewing angle at, kind of more of a 90 degrees. And see this little figure right down here is kind of masking the reflection of that quote up here. Yesterday I stamped that quote much more in the corner like that, and my trees would have been obscuring it. But see like that, I don't think that's too distracting like that. But we can do other things in here. We can do like little highlights on, some rocks or something like that. But I don't think it really needs it. I think that is a complete visual statement like that. It's definitely a fun one. It looks really dynamic, and what happened mostly in this card was you're just making the impressions. But you're doing it like these clouds around here. Just don't make them blocky, so you really want to wipe off a lot of the perimeter around this one. That's what people don't do because, they don't kind of know the techniques of something like that, but it's just a simple matter of wiping it off like that. Paper towel kind of shred it a little bit. You can take like a sponge or something like that if you want to, something a little bit hardier for that. But on these cards like this with the rainbow holographic gold foil combination, that those two surfaces really do a lot of the, kind of the heavy lifting in terms of the, I don't know, the effects of the card. We're not having to add in all those colors onto, a piece of white cardstock or something like that and deal with all kinds of different inks and whatnot, which is really fun to do. But this is like instantaneous and varied in terms of the angle that the light is hitting it and also how much of the card you have opened up like that. People get this, and I don't know, I've had good responses from this type of format too. They think the cards are really cool. Okay, so anyways, I hope you sampled along with me and had some fun. Hope you got a really good looking card. And I don't know, if you have any questions, drop me a note in the comments section. Thanks again.